it's Meredith from Kitchen to Table, and today I wanted to share one of my favourite easy dinner recipes. So what we've got today are some lovely pork fillets, which I'm just going to flatten out with the meat mallet. But you can also use chicken thigh, chicken breast. We're going to also add a little slice of prosciutto along with some herbs to season up the meat. And then in the pan we're going to add some capers, some sage leaves, a little bit of chicken stock and some verjuice just to create a delicious sauce. So to get started, what we need to do is flatten out the meat. So I've just got that on a board, a little bit of baking paper underneath just to keep the board clean, a little bit of paper on top just so once again it doesn't splatter all over me, and just want to get those into nice flat pieces of meat. So just flatten that out, flip that over now and just do them on the other side just to give them a little bit of extra, make them nice and even. Once you've got the meat flattened out, just remove that piece of paper. And now we're just going to season it up with some lovely herbs. Now, I'm going to use some sage in the sauce, so you can finely chop up some sage. You could use some rosemary and thyme and parsley, whatever you have on hand, and whichever your favourite herbs. However, in the store we also prepare this little pasta sprinkle, which is a combination of Italian herbs, some basil, chili flakes, and some salt. And that's a really nice seasoning too to have on hand. You give each piece of meat a little seasoning with that spice, with that herb mixture. And then we're going to secure a piece of prosciutto onto the meat with a toothpick. And that just adds a really, delicious flavour to this dish. Okay, so that's sprinkled. I might just season with a little bit of extra salt and pepper, just so that meat gets lots of lovely flavour. And just a little bit of extra salt, just to enhance everything. And then I'm going to also just get my pan heating up, just so it's ready to cook once we've got the prosciutto on. So just a medium to medium high heat. So with this prosciutto, it's a little bit long, so I'm just going to cut that in half. I also use pancetta rounds if I get those at the supermarket or at the deli. So whatever you can find, but it does just add an extra layer of flavour. So just secure that with a toothpick. And we'll just proceed with the rest of these. Okay, you could also prepare these ahead of time and just have them in the fridge ready to cook off at dinner time. So if you like to get ahead of the game, you can do that as well. So we're now going to get the pan is heating up for us. I'm going to get a little bit of oil into the pan along with our sage leaves, which will give a lovely fragrance to the oil. So in with the oil. Be a little bit generous because we're using that oil to flavour, to also add flavour to our beautiful pork. So a little bit of that goes in. As I said, we're going to pop the sage leaves in. Okay, so once your sage starts to sort of sizzle and give off a nice fragrance, we can also add in our capers. So I've just got the capers in brine, that was what I could find here. But if you can get the little salted ones, they're really delicious as well. You just need to rinse the salt away from those before you use them. So give them a good rinse, drain them, pop them on some paper towel so they're dry, just so they don't spit at you in the pan. And yeah, they're really lovely to use. So I'm going to go in with those and just allow those to also flavour the oil before we add the pork in. We might have to do this in 2 batches. So I've got 8 pieces of pork here, so possibly we need to do 2 batches just so there's room in the pan. Okay, I'm just going to give that another minute to continue heating through there before we add that pork. And I might just give the pork a little season on this side as well. Seasoning is really important to bring out the flavour in your food. And so we're just going to brown off the prosciutto. So I'll put those prosciutto side down. We just want to get a little colour on the prosciutto, get the pork cooking about halfway through. Then we're going to flip it over and add in the rest of our sauce ingredients, which is the verjuice, some chicken stock, and then we'll just finish off with a little bit of butter just to mellow everything out and to give a lovely creaminess to the sauce. Now I like to serve this just with some simply steamed green vegetables, some broccolini and beans for example. It's also delicious with a creamed corn puree or some crispy roasted potatoes. So I'm going to leave that to you to incorporate your favourite vegetable sides, but those things I've just mentioned are what I usually do. So just give the pan a little wiggle, just so make sure everything's not sticking, and we're just going to give that another couple of minutes on this side and then we'll flip it over. I find in the meantime, while you're waiting for the pork to cook, you can have your pots of vegetables on. So if you're steaming greens, you can have that going at the same time and everything will come together for you to plate up at once. You just want to be mindful not to burn your herbs. You obviously want to get some browning on the meat. Flip that one over now. Okay, so once your pork has been flipped over and it's had a couple of minutes to brown on that side, or until it's nearly cooked through, depending on the thickness of your meat, we want to deglaze the pan with some white wine or some verjuice. The verjuice is just an easy pantry product to have on hand. I just keep mine in the fridge once I've opened it. It's sort of the unripe grape juice, so it gives a lovely bit of acidity to the sauce. So just deglaze the pan with that, or white wine if you've got some there. And just allow that to sort of bubble away. It's going to create the basis for our sauce as well, along with those beautiful pan flavours that we've created with the herbs and the capers. I'm also going to add in some chicken stock. Just gives us a little bit of extra liquid. So with the wine, allow that to evaporate off just until you can no longer smell the alcohol. And then just let this simmer away. And we're just going to let that bubble. And then when the meat is cooked through, I'll remove that from the pan and just finish the sauce with a couple of cubes of butter. And as I said, that will just mellow out the acid from the wine or the verjuice that you've used. Just going to remove that pork now onto a platter. We'll have a little bit of time to rest while we finish off the sauce. You've got all those lovely little sage leaves. Just add those onto the top of the pork. Just let that sauce bubble a little bit faster. Just turn the heat up a wee bit. And we're going to add in a couple of cubes of butter. And we also, when that's done, we just want to taste the sauce and make sure it tastes delicious. Just have a little taste. Yes, that's really delicious. So I'm getting the lovely piquancy from the capers. There's a lovely bit of acid from the verjuice that we used, and then the butter's just softened that off really nicely. So now you can just pour that sauce over the pork or the chicken or whatever meat you're using. My lovely pork and prosciutto with sage and capers. I hope you enjoy that video. Thanks for watching, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks so much.